The European Team Chess Championship 2023 is underway and the stakes have never been higher. In round 5, Italy faced off the Netherlands, the Dutch national team. None of the teams could afford a loss since they already lost 2 points along the way, if they wanted to stay in touch with the top board. And on board 1, we witness a clash which is really worth being called a clash. Italy's strongest player, Grandmaster Vocaturo, takes on Super Grandmaster Jorden van Foreest, who has also helped World Chess Champion Magnus Carlsen to prepare for his previous match. This being said, let's just jump straight into the heart of the action. Daniele Vocaturo plays first e4 and Jorden van Foreest plays c6. Hardly a surprise for the white player because van Foreest has played the Caro-Kann previously. White plays d4, black plays d5, and now white has a choice and he decides to play knight to c3, basically offering an open Caro-Kann because the alternatives aren't that good. So d takes e4, knight takes e4, and now black has a choice between the former main line bishop f5 or the more trendy variations. And Jorden van Foreest plays knight f6, and we have covered this move in the channel. We have discussed several ideas after knight takes f6 check, e takes f6, and this is a great way for black to fight for a win. If you want to see the ideas and the other videos, watch until the end. I will add the playlist after we have finished the analysis of this game. So usually what white is doing here is playing c3, defending the d4 pawn. After bishop d6, bishop to d3 is played, preparing queen c2, so black castles, queen c2, threatening to take on h7, rook e8 check, knight e2, and now black has to deal with the threat and plays h5. So this is what we have already discussed, but this is not the topic of our analysis now, because Vocaturo tries to circumvent the c3 move by playing bishop to e3. And if he achieves that c3 is not required, white might enjoy an advantage. And Jorden van Foreest is in a dilemma now, because he probably knows that Vocaturo is well prepared, because according to the database, Van Foreest played a move like queen to b6 against Nepomniachtchi, but also the knight to a6 against Wesley So, two of the strongest players of our time. So what to do? And of course, he doesn't want to run into preparation, so plays the slightly dubious bishop to d6. White follows up with bishop to d3, and now black develops the knight to d7, a very flexible move, not castling yet, and white plays queen to f3. And this was basically the idea of white gaining a setup where white is a little bit more active than in the other opening setups with c3, queen c2. We have looked at them a few moments ago. So queen to f3, but this is also an early queen move and it might not be the best move. Knight f8 played, and now white could settle for something like knight e2, knight g6, knight g3, black castles, white castles. The kings are on the same side, and it's going to be a longer game with maybe a slight advantage for white. However, in the game, Vocaturo decided to play a very risky plan, and this is castling queenside. And now you can see the king of black is in the center, and it's probably going to the king side, while the king of white is on the queen side. So both players will try to attack the opponent's king. And black starts with bishop to e6, puts pressure on the a2 pawn, and of course also attacking the king, or at least putting some pressure against the king. So c4 played, and black continues his development with knight to g6. And now we are going to see the 11th move, and black still has not castled. So a very interesting concept of black. White plays h4, and black doesn't mind this move because there is queen to d7, and now the threat is bishop to g4. Still h5 played, and this is working because after bishop to g4, which was played in the game, there's queen e4 check. So the rook is not under threat yet because it's check, and the knight has to be moved in between because otherwise it's lost. So knight to e7, and white is in time to play bishop to e2. But Foreest follows up with bishop to f5. And now the bishop is already placed very actively, so not very pleasant for white. The queen goes to h4, trying to support the attack on the king side. White will try to push the pawns, and maybe h6, as mentioned earlier. So now it is Foreest's turn. It's black to move, and Foreest found a very strong move. So I want to know what you would play in this position. Let me know in the comment section. So here Foreest played the very active b5, and the idea is not to take only on c4 but to open the b file and attack the king. Not very pleasant for white. So white responds with an attack on the other side of the board with g4. Now the bishop is under attack, and the bishop just drops back to e6, and still there is this threat. And it seems white doesn't have a good response, so he plays g5, again playing on the other side. And now black says, you can grab my pawns on the king's side, I don't care, I will just develop my attack against your king, and plays f takes g5. Why is this giving up a few pawns? Well, after queen takes g5, black takes on c4, opens the b file. There is queen takes g7, so the first pawn is lost, and black is forced to play rook g8, and the rook is protected by the knight, and the queen takes on h7, and if we compare the material now, white is up a pawn. However, black is very happy about this position because the king on e8 is absolutely safe. There are so many pieces guarding the king and also this rook, and the king is very safe, while this king only looks safe. But it's not, because the queen would like to retreat to c2 and support the king, but black has the very strong bishop to f5. The queen has to move, and it's almost trapped. So queen h6 played, and this looks very bad, but it's even worse, because after knight to d5, white is already forced to play, or forced to resign basically, because if white plays bishop takes c4, then simply bishop f8 and the queen is trapped, and for a minor piece. So the queen is lost. Not very pleasant. Let's go back. So white is basically forced to play knight to f3, but then, because at one point you have to finish development, but then simply bishop f8 and the queen again is trapped, and white decided to resign. However, you should have calculated a little bit further, because this is probably also what Vocaturo did, and also Foreest. White can attack the queen with knight to e5. However, bishop takes h6 is winning the game, because after knight takes d7, there is the simple knight takes e3. And now black has 3 minor pieces, while white has 2, and one of these minor pieces is also under attack, just like the black knight. So if white decided to take on e3, then black wouldn't take on d7, because he first checks on e3. The bishops are controlling all the squares of the king is in check, and now rook d2 is the only legal move, and black would follow up with king takes d7, and now black is up an entire rook for no compensation. conversation, because if white makes any move here, let's say rook d1, then follows bishop takes d2, I don't know, king takes d2, and as you can see, black is up an entire rook. As always, I hope you liked the video. If you want to see the ideas in the Caro-Kann, which we touched upon a little bit, click on the playlist next to me, and if you want to see more of such videos, feel free to subscribe. See you.